Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. News is very light, so we can kind of hurry up and get to the main event, which is, today we're talking about Colin Oliver, the edge rusher / linebacker out of Oklahoma State. Sounds like he will primarily, possibly exclusively, be playing edge rusher for the Packers, but we don't really know how that's all going to pan out. As for the actual news, looks like, I know we've all kind of forgotten about it at this point, but Diana Rossini of The Athletic says she's getting really good vibes coming out of Cincy that the Bengals are going to try to get a deal done with Trey Hendrickson, which is about the most nothing statement ever. If she would have not put try in there, this could have been like a statement that was worth something. Getting really good vibes, they're going to get a deal done with Trey Hendrickson. Going to try is stupid. So we're just going to pretend that try isn't in there and that's actually relevant information. Because I've had good vibes and feelings that they're going to try. In fact, I'm pretty sure they have been trying. So it's not news at all. Beep, boop, boop. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else we need to talk about. Colin Oliver, Green Bay Packers 5th round pick 159. Again, don't want to go through this whole thing, but just as a little bit of a refresher, does come from an athletic family. His dad played football. He's from Oklahoma City. He's got 2 sisters. He's involved in track like pretty much every football player is. He was a 3-star recruit, and he did go to the Senior Bowl. He was freshman All-American, Big 12 Freshman of the Year, second team All-Big 12 in 2021, second team All-Big 12 and led the team in sacks in 2022, second team All-Big 12, led the team in forced fumbles, sacks, and was team captain in 2023. 2024 was rough. He missed the final 10 games, so he didn't play very much with a right foot injury, although he was team captain for while he was there. Also, not that this is necessarily a good thing, but somewhat reminds me of Luke Musgrave in that, I mean, he was always a good football player, which is, I think, a little bit different than Musgrave. His grades were 77, 71, and 73. A pure pass rusher. His run defense grades, although decent in year one, were 58 and 59 in 22 and 23. His tackling grades, 37, 31, 47. Pass rush grades his first 3 years, 77, 76, and 81. His first year, he played a half to a third of a season. He had 40 pressures and 9 sacks on 233 attempts. His second year, he had almost 40 pressures on 262 attempts and 5 sacks. His third year, 283 pressure attempts or pass rush attempts, 41 pressures and 7 sacks. This year, again, only 2 games. But his first game was against South Dakota State. He had an 83 PFF grade, a 90 pass rush grade. He had 8 pressures on 34 attempts and a sack. And then against Arkansas, he had an 86 grade, 76 run defense, 77 tackling, 80 pass rush. He had 6 pressures on 12 attempts, which is freaking 50% pressure rate, and a sack. So he was off to an unbelievable start, which is, I mentioned Musgrave because he was kind of similar, where he seemed to be exploding. He had, I think, 2 to 3 games kind of similar where it was like, holy crap, he's off to a really good start, and then got hurt the rest of the season. Hopefully we don't have injury issues with Colin Oliver, but really, since day one, very good pass rusher, and then, 2024, it looked like he was going to potentially, I mean, it's a small sample size, but still, incredible start to the season, especially since, the first game, pretty small school, but then Arkansas in week 2, and phenomenal. So he had, to start the season, 14 pressures on 46. What the heck is that? 14 on 46, 30% pressure rate, and 2 sacks in his first 2 games of the season. 30%. That's unbelievable. Arkansas, maybe not the best offensive line in the world, but still, those are numbers that people don't usually put up even against bad teams. Oh, and how's that for timing? I just pop over here for 1 second. Packers' fifth-round pick linebacker Colin Oliver has signed a 4-year, $4.6 million deal per agent Drew Rosenhaus and Robert Bailey. Good timing. Looking over at the old RAS, he had a 9.74 RAS, 6 foot 1.5, 240 pounds, 24 reps on the bench is pretty impressive for his size. Just, I think in general. 4.56 40-yard dash. Obviously a pretty fast guy. Extremely fast. It's 9.32 out of 10. His 10-yard split was 1.57, which is a 9.26 out of 10. So, I mean, it really is emblematic of exactly what the Packers have been saying about the guy. We need speed. We don't necessarily have that. We got a lot of power off the edge. We need somebody that can get to the quarterback fast, and this is a guy that is everything you want in somebody that is a designated pass rusher. He's got speed, he's got bend, and you go look at him in college, and he just has ridiculous pass rush numbers, pressures and sacks. In fact, I think his RAS went up because of his pro day. We'll get to his pro day, but I'm seeing here that he actually did do some of the other numbers, which he didn't initially. 39-inch vertical jump, 10.6 broad jump, 9.88. 8.92 is a defensive end, 9.88 is a linebacker. There you go. There was an article written here, pistolsfiringblog.com. From 2021, it says, contextualizing the ridiculous start to Colin Oliver's college career. His head coach, Mike Gundy, said, quote, well, he's freakishly athletic. He's got a very strong, flexible lower body, and he can bend. He can turn a corner, and he can drop his knees, his hips, and bend and get under blocks, and then he's powerful enough to come back the other way. He just has a special athleticism that allows him to be a good football player and a good pass rusher. I mean, I can't imagine. He ought to be 20 pounds bigger and stronger next year at this time. He's definitely got a lot of speed on the outside, OSU offensive lineman Jake Springfield said. I've seen him get some guys doing that and then doing the up and under. He's also really powerful for his size. He'll kind of surprise some guys earlier in the game. They showed a chart. This is not by the end of the season. This is whatever part of the season it was. But they were showing all the other pass rushers it's through 7 games. All the other freshmen and their sack numbers. Of the true freshmen, you had Jimmy Bean with 0, Calvin Bundage with 0, Trace Ford with 3, Colin Oliver 4.5 sacks. If you look at redshirt freshmen, the only guy that was close was Emmanuel Ogbah, who was an NFL pass rusher. He had 4. So still not quite where Colin Oliver was through his first 7 games. He actually ended that season by breaking Oklahoma State's freshman sack record with 11.5, which was 7th in the nation as a freshman. Also had 15.5 tackles for a loss that year. We went through the honors already, but freshman All-American honors and all that great stuff. He finished his entire college career with 134 tackles, 42 tackles for a loss, 23.5 sacks, which is 5th all-time at OSU. He also added 5 forced fumbles, 7 pass breakups over those 43 games. And keep in mind, he didn't get to play his final season because of injury. Speaking of that injury, by the way, details are pretty scant. I know it was a foot injury. There's, believe it or not, I should just go look for a photo, a lot of disagreement on which foot it was. About half the reports I've seen said right foot, the other half said left foot injury. Either way, he was wearing a boot and crutches and the whole 9 yards. He was expected initially to be out for a month, and then it turns out it was an extended period of time. Sounds like he did return, not to football, but, was kind of end of the season-ish, kind of ready to go. His participation in the Senior Bowl kind of demonstrated that he was pretty much good to go, so I don't think that foot injury should be anything that lingers into training camp or anything of that nature. However, for the sake of keeping you good and nervous, during the Senior Bowl, he had some kind of a thigh or hamstring injury. He was observed wearing a wrap or tape on his left thigh hamstring area, and he was a limited participant. So not a lot of details on that, other than to say, again, there was something up with his leg, and he was limited as a result of that. And it sounds like that injury did take place during the Senior Bowl. So day one, he was out there practicing, and then no reps on Wednesday. Thursday, very limited. So, again, not trying to make too much out of things, but being a little snake bit with all the injuries and whatnot. One of the reasons the Packers like bigger guys is, the belief that there might be some less injuries. And for a guy that's been extremely durable to miss his last season with an injury and then recover and then immediately get back in and pull a hamstring. Now, something else to consider. If you've been not playing football for an entire year and then, you rush off to the Senior Bowl, you're probably putting some strain on your body that maybe you shouldn't have. So we could try to cut him a little bit of slack there, but especially with the comparison to Luke Musgrave, who hasn't seemed to be able to get or stay healthy with the Packers, does make me a little bit nervous, but I'm hopeful that the Packers will kind of ease him in a little bit, knowing that he hasn't really been playing football for about a year. Includes the pro day as well. I've been digging around. I can't find out exactly why he didn't participate in the pro day, but he didn't. So, anyways, why don't we take a break? We'll come back and do the press conference stuff, see what the coaches and whatnot had to say about him. We'll be right back. All right, let's get started. Again, no particular order. It's just the one I clicked on first. This is the one-on-one with Milt Hendrickson. We listened to him talk about Barron Sorrell yesterday, so today we'll hear him talk to The Rock about Colin Oliver.
Tell me about your fifth-round draft choice, Colin Oliver.
Oliver's a little bit different in terms of the athlete. He's got a twitch. And
by the way, can I just have to say something. When I see something, it's like, we're not doing that today. It's like, but I got to say it. I did a little investigation. I wanted to see, because he's known for his speed or whatever, let me go look at some of the combine data, because I know he was at the combine, and he did run some drills and whatnot. Just want to see if he's like crazy fast or whatever. You know who's crazy fast? Barron Sorrell. Not what I was expecting to see. We'll get into the details another time, but looking at some of the specific drills, like the hoop drills, at the combine where they're kind of running around, bending around the edge and whatnot, and then you track sort of the miles per hour on that. I don't remember I don't know if it was the hoop drill or one of them or whatever, but Barron Sorrell was number one in the speed, and he was tops of several others, including the 40 and 40-yard dash at 5 yards. His miles per hour was like third or fourth highest. So that surprised me. Anyways, I'm sorry. Continue.
the energy out of his stance, the old school kind of DPR situational pass rusher to a degree. But the thing I like most about, and we like most about him, is his versatility. He's got a chance to be somebody we can line up on the edge, play in a variety of sub-packages, and even play some stacked if he had to.
And then here's Hendrickson talking to the media about Sorrell and Oliver.
And then Colin Oliver, he dealt with a little bit of an injury this year, didn't play a lot, but the one thing about him, especially when you go back to the 23 tape, you turn the tape on him and you can see he's got twitch and explosiveness off the edge that brings a little bit more of a unique skill set that way. He's also got some versatility that's going to allow him to potentially play some stack. And then he brings incredible special teams value with his whole skill set. So just really excited to get both those guys.
Bill, what is it about Oliver that you guys feel so good about, given that he only played 5 quarters last year?
Yeah, and it's partly go back to the tape from 23. He's one of those guys that makes an impact when you watch on tape, and then necessarily doesn't always come through on the stat sheet. And then through the process at the Senior Bowl, and then he worked at Indy as well. So there's a comfort level with where he's at. We talk versatility so much, but I think he's more than just a versatile player. He's got a niche that I think is going to allow him to see the field.
What's the niche? Because some people want to find out what he is. Is he a linebacker? Is he an edge guy? You say he's got a niche. What's the niche?
The niche is he's a really good football player. He's if you say the old school DPR, situational pass rusher, if you want to put a tag on him right now, I'd say that's probably, if you were to put him in a position, that would be it. But we took him with the idea that the things that Coach Hafley wants to do, he's going to allow some multi-alignments that just increased his value in our eyes. I don't know what else.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You guys generally like, obviously really big edge guys who can play, both parts of the game. Has anything happened in the last year or two to make you think that a designated rusher is a good idea?
And again, I don't want to pigeonhole these guys, but the league is such, the ball gets out so quickly that sometimes just the ability to win at the snap is, for certain guys, I think both these guys have that ability to do that. Not that the guys that we have currently on our roster don't. It's just the game has evolved, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, where the ball gets out so quickly that you have to have guys that can win in different ways. And you need guys that are more than power rushers, and I think we've got some of those guys too, but I think we've got a good group of just, edge guys right now, and I know Brian has hit on it before. We feel really good about those guys, and I think all these guys do is create more competition, and in the end, I think everybody's going to be better by us adding these two.
How do you look at the Senior Bowl? It's obviously been a significant playoff for him.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of rust knocking that off, but I think the thing that stood out for us is just is the tempo that he played with and then the competes, and he wasn't afraid to jump right back in.
You mentioned Oliver can maybe play a little linebacker for you. Sure. Is that just because he's of that size, or do you see something?
He's done it. He's done it on tape earlier. He's played both. So, for us, we'll put him, wherever Coach Hafley ends up. Our anticipation is we'll put him in the edge room. We'll put him in that group, and then as he comes in and works and competes, and if he shows that he's able to manage doing both, then I'm sure Coach will have opportunities for him to do both.
Milt, what allowed him to make such a big splash as a freshman? I mean, he was like freshman All-American and double-digit sacks and everything when he first came on the scene. Like, what about him?
I think that goes back to, we talked about just his, we were talking a little bit about the get-off and the take-off and the natural twitch and athleticism. Sometimes you just put your hand on the ground and go. And I think that's a little bit of what he did, being a young kid, just saying, okay, I got to go try to make my mark, and, obviously trust him to do it.
No, you mentioned his special teams value with his skill set. He's done some of it, but not a ton. What about his skill set makes you think he'd have a great?
Just what we're talking about. His change of direction, his acceleration. He's a pretty good tackler, when you see him playing the stack spot. So all those things generally translate. But then I think, Coach Bisaccia can speak to this more than I can, but I think sometimes about special teams is just the mentality too. I think he really has that.
What are the disadvantages for being a shorter edge guy, and are there any advantages to that?
I think leverage is an advantage. You think about some of the, like the Dwight Freeney's of the world. I was in Baltimore. We had Elvis Dumerville. He never measured 6 foot his entire life, but he just found a way to take off, leverage his ability to get under tackles who can't bend real well. Obviously, if they're not, it's the physics of football will come into play sometimes too. You get swallowed up by a big man, but the shorter edge rushers generally have that takeoff power, explosiveness, and their ability to leverage under people.
Matt LaFleur's press conference. This was the post-draft press conference.
Oliver is a guy, he only played, 2 games this year? I think, I want to say he had like 14 pressures and a sack and a half, and I would say he's a little bit more of a DPR at this standpoint, but one thing that I think was pretty evident throughout the course of the season is we needed a little bit more speed and a speed rusher on the edge, and I think that's exactly what he does. But he's another guy that has versatility in terms of we feel like he can play as an off-the-ball linebacker as well.
As for Gutekunst early on, he was asked about it. I'm not even going to bother playing it because it's not. I might have played it already with Barron Sorrell because it's such a short answer. But basically, he says one guy wins with power. That's Barron Sorrell. Another guy has a little bit more athleticism and speed. And then, essentially the question was, can they start right away? And his answer was essentially something to the effect of, "We'll see."
Those lines. What made it worth making an exception and drafting a 240-pound pass rusher?
Yeah, we talked a lot about, just having guys like that. that can chase the quarterback down, And again, there's not a lot of guys in our league that win with pure speed, on the edge. But there are some guys that have, really good get-offs and quickness. And, certainly I think as we kind of talked about, one thing that I'm always concerned about with guys is if all they can do is rush the passer and they're that size, when you have injuries and they got to play more, they got to play more on first and second down, they can put you in a spot. I think with Collins, with his situation, he can actually stand up and play some linebacker too. He can play some Sam linebacker. So I think that versatility made us comfortable with it.
I'll be honest, I don't know why that was turned down. I don't fully understand that answer. It definitely sounds like he's saying they don't believe he can win with anything but speed, and they don't want him out there first and second down, but the fact that he could potentially play as a linebacker gives him some versatility. The problem is it doesn't really answer the question that he was referring to of what happens when injuries take place. Well, we'll put him at linebacker. Okay, what happens when your edge rushers start getting injured is the question. I don't know how him playing linebacker is going to help that situation, but okay, whatever. It's also weird that he said very few people win with just speed anymore in the NFL. All right, so is this the part where you tell me that he wins with more than speed, or no? Okay. Well, cool. I don't understand what that was about exactly, but that's fine. But I think that's about it with the press conferences. I think as we get a little bit deeper into this, I'm going to have to start digging into some other things. I'm not going to do it today because I got something else that I want to do today. But kind of looking maybe a little bit deeper into some of the PFF stats, some of the SIS stats, some of the combine data and all that kind of stuff, just to more round this out. Some of the other guys, I barely have time just to do the press conferences because there's so much. So we'll have to start shifting and adjusting a little bit. Plus, I mean, they don't even have the Beast Draft Guy doesn't even have these guys included and whatnot. So we'll have to include some of that. I want to do it anyways, but I was just going to save that for a little bit later. But I do want to continue on with the rest of the draft picks and make sure that we, like I said, go a little bit more in depth and make sure we understand who these guys are. But I do want to stop there. We'll take a break. Matt LaFleur did a press conference, so we do have Green Bay Packers in the building right now, currently going through phase one, and I believe the rookies show up very soon. If they're not there already, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Bottom line is, off-season has already begun, and so you get little dribs and drabs. I said this before, the actual dead period for the NFL is about a month. It's not like after the Super Bowl and then you get a little bit of draft and then you get, the preseason. It's pretty close to being year round. They have to figure out how to do a better job of filling about a month. But we'll take a break. We actually do have Colin Oliver doing his press conference, or whatever you want to call it. So we'll do that one today. We'll double back on some of the other ones later once we get through these, but since it's available today, we'll do it, and then we'll get to Matt LaFleur's press conference. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. First question is, what has the last week been like for you?
It's been a roller coaster of emotions, man, and the highs, and there's been all over the place, just anxiety, like everything you can imagine. It's been welcoming just coming here and seeing the people here, and meeting the coaches and some of the players who are here, and it's been real cool. It's been real cool and surreal. So,
who have you caught up with? Some of the players that are here.
Yeah. So there's a couple of linebackers and a couple of D linemen here that shook hands with Mecole Hardman. I don't think I saw Jordan Love yet, but just the rookies that we came in with as well. So it's
Who'd you meet so far? Mecole Hardman. Okay, great. Good. That's awesome. That's cool. So okay.
Just seeing those players and being here, it's really real. So it's real cool.
What field days and what the Packers are.
Yeah, it's been real cool. It's a very historic team, very historic stadium. Fans here are really, close knit. It's a real tight knit community. I saw population here was like 107,000 or something like this. So it's a real tight knit group, and I like that a lot. It goes to show just how much the Green Bay Packers mean to this community. So it's like I said, a historic stadium and a historic team, and I'm just glad to be a part of it, bro.
We hear that football's in here. The Packers frequently coming in. You probably heard that too. Is it good or bad? Are you excited about that much focus on football?
Yes, I'm very excited about that. At the end of the day, this is my job, and I'm going to treat it like that. I'm gonna have fun at my job, but like that's what I came here for, to play football. So it's very exciting to know that this is the only thing I'm going to be able to focus on here. Not that I wouldn't if I was anywhere else, but this is a perfect place for me. So.
Hey, Colin, you missed like almost your entire last year at Oklahoma State because of your injury. I guess can you walk us through what that experience, was like having to go through that, and then how do you feel as a person and a player having to go through that and coming out on the other side of it? Yeah,
it was adversity, and I looked at it as injuries are part of the game. It was unfortunate it happened at the time that it did because it was my senior year and I wanted to really go out there and win a Big 12 championship with my boys. But, it happens, and I dealt with it. I recovered from it and did all the things I needed to do. I learned the lessons I needed to learn throughout that whole process, and it was a bump in the road. I saw it as, and being on the other side of it now is really cool. And like I said, I learned a lot from just going through all that. So.
Your freshman year, what was that like? And then how did that set us? Did that create unrealistic expectations for you the rest of the time?
I knew I was a baller. That was never in question. The scheme that we had ran and the coach that we had, everything just worked out well my freshman year. I had great teammates around me. That was just a great environment to be a part of. First time we went to the Big 12 championship since 2011 at OSU. So it was a team that really helped me propel my game, and learning from that season, realizing I had the talent from then on, it just provoked me that much further and made me a better man and a player on the football field.
Colin, they haven't normally around here had a guy that's like just a designated pass rusher. Like he doesn't really fit here, and he's not quite this, but man, he can rush the passes. Is that you?
I'm here to play ball and do whatever the coaches ask of me. That's the only reason I'm here, and that's what I'm going to do while I'm here. Wherever they see me put, I'm going to play that position. I don't really care what it is. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be a position, and I'm going to play it to the best of my ability. So
they talked about it after they drafted you. They came down and they said, this is a guy, no matter where you put him, he can get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
So do you think they're open to that idea? Yeah. They discussed it with you, like, hey, learn this, learn this, learn this.
I'm sure the coaches know my strong suits and my the talents that I have. I get to the passer. That's what I do best. And everything else just combines complements off of that. So, whether it's linebacker, whether it's edge, whether it's special teams, whether it's I'm playing kicker, or, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? I don't care, I don't know, and I'm just playing to my best ability, whatever that position is. So.
Where do you feel like you thrive best, though, when it comes to position?
Anywhere on the football field, and that's a God honest.
That is not the God honest truth. You're a quarterback killer, dude.
Truth. I've been playing everywhere since I was a kid. I've been doing it since high school and college, and I plan on carrying that here. Obviously, the coaches saw something in me, so they're going to utilize me to that best ability. And I feel like that it's going to be real beneficial for me, and it's going to be extremely fun. So.
Just the first day here, but what was kind of your first impression of glancing at the playbook?
Yeah.
What's your first reaction?
It was amazing. I love what the DC's doing, and I just love the scheme that he has put forward, and I love the guys that he has for that scheme. Everybody he drafted for that scheme, and just everything that deals with the defense and our team in general. It's a real cool concept, and I think we have a great chance to go to the Super Bowl this year, and that's obviously the plan. And I can't wait to, like I said, just get to work with these guys. So.
All right, that's about it. I did skip a bunch of questions, so if you want, go check out the Packers YouTube channel. You can catch that. But I tried to grab the ones that I thought were somewhat a little bit more interesting, or at the very least, answer it one time, and then the constant repeating we can skip. All right, let's get to finally Matt LaFleur. He did his press conference answering a bunch of questions. And we might as well start off with Isaiah Simmons. That's been a big question for a lot of people, especially Packernet After Dark. There seems to be some consternation about that. But be good to hear from Matt kind of what the thought process was there.
Obviously, that's not a rookie minicamp question, but...
Yeah, you kind of threw me off a little bit there, Bill. Just to get him in here and, obviously he's going to be in the linebacker room, but I think he's a guy, he's a very talented player, and he's played a lot of ball in this league, and just try to get him, acclimated with our system. And the thing that you love about him is he's got a lot of versatility to do a lot of different things. And I know in New York, just when we went against him a couple years ago, specifically situationally, he was all over the place. So I think that just tells you his mental capacity in order to be able to understand defensive schemes. And we had a lot of great conversation with him leading up to him signing with us. And so I know he's working hard at it, and I think we have a vision for him. And, we'll just watch and see how that progresses over time.
Were you able to use Xavier McKinney as a reference on him?
We were. Yes. I asked X, and X gave him 2 thumbs up. So that is meaningful, though, when you have a player like X coming from New York who was a teammate with him, and you just ask those questions. And, he said he's a great teammate, and that's all I need to hear.
So Matt, what are the goals for these couple days here with the rookies? Like, what are you trying to get out of it? What do you want them to get out of it?
I really want them. So you just never know where these guys are at physically. I mean, I was just talking to Anthony Belton, and he went on 14 different 30 visits. So it's hard to be in, peak physical condition when you get them in here. So more or less, it's just try to get these guys a taste of what's to come, and kind of knock off the jitters a little bit. All these guys are amped up, and you just want to get them acclimated as fast as possible, because the next time that they're in here, it's going to be phase 2, and they're going to be in with the vets. So we had them work out with our strength staff, the guys, the UDFAs, as well as our draft picks, work out with our strength staff today, and they'll have another workout with our strength staff tomorrow. But we're not doing any full speed football stuff. We'll take them out tomorrow afternoon and on the grass and do like a modified individual period, an extended modified individual period, in terms of we're going to scale back the intensity, and you just want to give them some things that they can take back with them and work over the week. But it's going to be low intensity. It's going to be more teaching. That way, when they come back, it's not like you have to slow down the whole group and teach them when we're on the grass.
And then I know we're, it's not even necessarily doubling back. I mean, we're doing the Matt LaFleur thing, so we might as well. But, questions about some of the rookies that we've already talked about. Here, kind of, again, asking them about Matthew Golden, the receivers, whatever.
Man, I know it's early. Obviously, they need to develop. But what does it do for your offense, bringing in a guy that can stretch the field like Matthew and a guy that's kind of a move guy, line up anywhere, just getting the ball quick like Savion?
Well, we'll see. I mean, a lot of it's going to be dependent upon them and how well they pick up the offense.
LaFleur is becoming pretty moody. I mean, some of the times I like it, and some of the times it's like, why do you gotta be a douche about it? Just answer his question.
And how fast they can do it, and I think it'll all work itself out in due time. But obviously, very excited about the talent that both those guys bring, for sure. Especially being out there and just kind of being around them a little bit, and I love how serious they are about ball. And I can say that collectively, not that I know these guys that well yet. I mean, I've only been around them not even 24 hours, most of those guys, but they just, I can tell we got a group that I think loves the game of football, and they treat people the right way. And that was evident, just the feedback I got from whether it's our athletic trainers or whoever, just how respectful these guys are. And to me, that's a big thing. You gotta, that's what we're all about. We want to be first class.
Since the next work they get is phase 2, does that mean they go home for a while and then don't come back till when? I'm talking about the rookies.
Yeah, so they're going to go home this next week, and then we'll bring them back in on Sunday, whatever date that is. But they'll be gone for a week. And some teams don't even do rookie minicamp anymore. They just have them come in with the vets when that's allowed. Other teams will do it next.
So just for clarity, and this is for my clarity as well, because I don't know why these dates are always hard to find. Sometimes they publish them, sometimes they don't. That's why they're asking, because obviously this hasn't been published. But okay, so we phase 1 actually started, I think, last month, if I'm not mistaken. So you had guys that were in the building kind of doing stuff that was voluntary. Rookie minicamp, I guess, started today, presumably, which would have been Friday, I think, or Thursday, or what. I don't know. No idea. But they came in, did a little bit of work. Next week, they're off. And then he said they'll come in Sunday, which would be the 11th. So phase 2 generally does start around mid-May. So it looks like, I'm guessing, they'll come in the 11th, so that Monday or Tuesday or whatever, I don't know. Sometimes they start stuff on Tuesdays. But let's just say, for our sake, Monday the 12th is going to be the phase 2, which is when they can start doing on-field work. Right now, there's no on-field work allowed in phase 1, so it's training staff and book learning and all that, meet and greets. But so we got a week, about a week, and phase 2 will begin
next weekend. I think it's important to try to acclimate them as fast as humanly possible, and I think it's a great, advantage of bringing them in early. That way, when they leave, they got a sense of direction of what they need to do and what's going to be asked of them when they come back.
But it's definitely different than the way you were doing rookie mini camp when you first got
Yeah,
here.
we were joking about that today. I think the first rookie mini camp, we had all sorts of drills out there, and I'll never forget, we had a couple of trash cans, and there were some guys leaning over the trash cans. So I'd say it's not a little different, it's drastically different.
Makes sense too. Your first time being a head coach, you want to come in and we're going to really hit this thing, and you realize you're kind of overdoing it and you're not actually helping your team as much as you think you are. So, sometimes you look at some of these veteran coaches and it's like, it feels like they kind of got their feet up and like we're really taking our time. That just comes from, I think, years of experience.
I know we ask you about 4 quarterbacks every year, but I know the Canadian quarterback is here, and I'm sure you probably have someone
Taylor.
else. Right. So would you like to come out of this with 4?
Whatever's best for our team.
Do you know anything about Taylor?
I do.
I obviously hasn't thrown a ball in a live practice here, but what are your early thoughts?
No, but we just did a workout with like our tryout guys, and he's got a very live arm, and you could see that on tape. It was obviously played at the Senior Bowl, and Vrabel got to see him there, and I think it was in the East-West game as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe it was, but
I know he was in 2 of the All-Star games. I watched the stuff from the Senior Bowl, and then obviously talked to Vrabel about that. We had him in on a 30 visit, so we got an opportunity to sit down with him. But another guy that loves football, and then just watching him throw just, an hour ago or whatever it was, he's got a live arm, so there's a lot to like about him.
Is that what you're looking for when you watch quarterbacks in a tryout situation, their arm, or are you really pushing him on scheme and how he reads?
I think you're just looking for traits at that point, Certainly, I think just coming from where he's coming from to this level, I think there's going to be a big learning curve. But if there's anybody that will attack it head on, Taylor will.
And just as a refresher, we did talk about him a little bit. And I by the way, I think this is very true, especially when you're talking about, Canadian, whether it's the Canadian Football League or out of a Canadian college or whatever the case may be. A lot of that is traits. I remember when I think he was a wide receiver or something, but he was like the number 1 or number 2 receiver in the CFL. He was like 6'4", blazing, like it just crazy traits all over the place. Nothing came of that, but anyways, the guy they're referring to is Taylor Elgersma he went to Wilfrid Laurier, and he was invited to the rookie mini camp. There were several guys that were invited, that were invites to the rookie mini camp, and he was one of them. I'm not going to go back through all the stuff we talked about with him, but just as a brief refresher.
That was so evident when he was here on the 30 visit, and I know he's been working really hard at it. So I think even just talking to Vrabel, the strides he's probably made from the Senior Bowl to now has been significant.
What is Christian Watson able to do right now, and how does he look, or how are his spirits?
Well, he looks like a freak, like he always does, in a positive way.
By the way, I love how much they love Watson. Sometimes there's guys that I like that the Packers just don't seem to like him very much, and that he's probably going to be on the way out as soon as they get an opportunity. There's other guys that they are obsessed with. And when you look at next year, who are they bringing back? Who are they going to let go? I don't want them to let go of Watson. I really don't. I understand maybe it's just not going to work. I get that. But I just don't want them to get rid of him. The fact that they love who he is as a person. They love his work ethic. They love his traits. They love they really like him. Maybe not as much as Matt LaFleur likes Tucker Kraft, but they really like him. And it makes me happy because it leads me to believe, I know he's not the GM, but it leads me to believe that there is a decent enough chance that he will be allowed to stay. I don't know exactly, if we're talking like a 1-year deal, maybe that would be the best way to go about it. And maybe they do that for just about everybody. I mean, maybe Dobbs and Watson, you bring them all back on 1-year deals and just let them fight it out. Because, I mean, we don't have enough wide receivers to get rid of everybody, so somebody's got to stay. But, yeah, I like hearing that because I want him to stay very much so.
Yeah, he's been great. He's been outstanding, just great attitude, and he's working hard. And that's really all you can ask of anybody.
Here comes angry Matt LaFleur again.
Matt, I'm sure Jason warned you that this was coming, but...
No, probably not.
No, he does his job well. It's my understanding Jair is not doing the on-field stuff right now. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Is that just part of we're going to figure out what's going on here, and once we figure it out, then we'll move forward?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't have many updates in regards to where we are in that whole situation.
I mean, I don't mean to keep hammering on it, and I know sometimes it's warranted. He gets stupid questions or whatever. That's not a stupid question. Maybe he views it as divisive, but there are ways to handle it without being pissy like that, I mean, there was a part of me that kind of liked that he's starting to get a little bit of an edge and not being whatever. I don't know, but some of it is just like, why do you have? I mean, maybe he just genuinely doesn't like. I mean, there's one person in particular who will remain nameless that it seems like no matter what his question is, he just has disdain for him. But I mean, it's not that big of. I mean, you could have just let off with this. Is Jair not taking a part of this and just kind of smooth out the edges a little bit? Be like, yeah, he's currently not out there with the team right now. He and Goody are working through that. I don't really know. That's maybe more of a question for him, or I don't know exactly where we're at with that. But because they're working through that right now, he's currently not on the field. But it's a fluid situation, But just right off the bat, just death stare and silence, and then yup. And then he eventually, like, it's what he does. Every time he does, like, a moody answer, he follows it up with, like, a genuine toned-down answer. Like, why don't you just do that? I don't know. I don't really fully understand the moodiness sometimes.
Situation. I just know we're trying to work through it.
Your position coaches, to get ready for OTAs and mini camps, how much are they looking at their players, new incoming players, what they did in college to start detecting technique things that they want to make changes on? I mean, talk about their preparation as to what they want to address in the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an important piece of it is you better know who you're working with, and you got to try to identify their strengths and weaknesses, at least how you see it and how it fits within our scheme. So we do this with all our players, all returning players, any guys we get in free agency. We call them point of attack tapes, and it's, I guess, a condensed version. Maybe it might be 20, 30 clips. Say, here's the things that we think you do really well, and here are the 1 to 2 things where we would like you to focus on throughout the course of the off season. If you master that, then we'll give them something else. So. But I think you got to be careful giving them too many things to really focus on.
It's interesting because I remember Aaron Rodgers a long time ago talked about this, that he tries to pick one thing every off season that he wants to work on, and he just hammers the living crap out of that one thing to try to improve on that.
Because you'd like to see that growth, that improvement, just being intentional. And that was one of the things that we talked about as a team, is just how intentional we need to be throughout the course of these weeks, because in essence we're 2 weeks short in terms of the face-to-face. So but I think our coaches do a good job with that, and that is part of the evaluation process, though, especially after we get these guys, is to make those point of attack tapes.
Rookies between now and when they're on the practice field with the veterans, how challenging is it to get acclimated to the playbook and learning that?
Extremely difficult, but everybody's got a different background in terms of what they've been exposed to. So I think some it can be a little bit more challenging than others. That's why, again, it's good to get them the information early. That way, I don't when they leave here, I expect them to study so that it's not just you're starting over when they get here in a week.
Two more, please. Back to Savion Williams. When you drafted him, you said your creativity is only limited by our imagination. So does that start
You
now?
like that, huh, Bill?
That was a great phrase. Because I'm neither creative or the other thing. But does that start now, or do you just start with this is the plays and you'll get into that stuff down the
Yeah,
road?
I think you'd like to have it kind of. I mean, we do a lot of that stuff anyways within the scheme of our offense. In terms of moving people and put them in a different position. So that's kind of the starting point. Is kind of the stuff that you have done, or in the off-season study things that you'd like to do off of things that you've done. So, but I think in terms of where that goes, it's going to happen organically over time.
I know you coaches have spent the whole offseason studying stuff and adding things, but after you guys pick up a couple of guys like you did in the draft offensively, do you then go back and say, okay, well, maybe we should add more of this or that because of the skill set that those two guys have, or no?
Probably not right now. I think that'll, again, the more we're around these guys, see what.
And I think that kind of makes sense, the answer of probably not right now, because you're not going to rebuild your entire offense around guys that you don't even know if they're going to play. So, again, you kind of get back to that, who do you build the offense around, which is a problem, right? Right now, I don't know that we have guys that you'd like to do that. So you grow and adapt and all that stuff. Then you get these guys in the building, and let's just say it is determined that Matthew Golden is legit. Let's say Savion's not ready. He's not going to be much of a contributor this year, whatever. But Golden is legit, and he's a guy that we can build around. All right, let's maybe kind of get into that. Or Savion, even if he's not a great, outside receiver right now, if there's some things he's dominating at in let's say blocking and some stuff out of the backfield, let's add a couple pages here to the old playbook.
They really do well. You always have an idea. I think it's an important part of it as you're going through the draft process, is you want to have a vision for how you would potentially use somebody. So that's just part of the evaluation, part of our process, whether it's free agency or the draft. And that's what you're trying to communicate to our scouting department is, hey, here's how we would here's how we would envision using this guy. But ultimately, I think a lot more of that's determined after the fact. When you get them in the building, you get to work with them on a daily basis. You see how fast they pick things up. Inevitably, there's going to be something that's going to surprise you in a positive light that they do really well, that you're like, oh, shoot, maybe I didn't recognize that just off the tape. So I think it's all about just that process of working together and kind of growing together.
By the way, that does have to be very challenging. I mean, you spend a lot of this downtime, and obviously there's a lot of things you have to do as a head coach or position coach or whatever. But if you're trying to go back and look at last year and refine what it is you want to do, and you don't know the makeup or construction of your offensive line, you don't know the makeup or construction of your wide receivers, and this is kind of, to some degree, an every year problem, although significantly less so when you have a pretty established offensive line. You got, let's say, Rodgers and Devontae and pretty much the same crew, especially on offense. I mean, we got a pretty long and storied history of drafting pretty exclusively defensive players, so they've had it pretty easy of saying, let's just run her back and tweak a couple things here and there. But it does have to be difficult to decide how we move forward. And, do we focus on, for example, let's just say we want to get more physical up on the offensive line so that we can run the ball, so that we can do these concepts in the passing game or whatever. Do we push forward with that, not knowing if we even have better physicality on the offensive line, or do we just tweak it and say, well, we got the free agent, we got Elton at center now, and let's just assume Morgan and Belton don't play for now, and we'll see how she goes? How cool would it be if Morgan did step up as a left tackle and we got Belton to be a frickin' road grading right guard? It could be the other way too with Morgan. I just feel like that would be the better. That was my determination after watching Belton, by the way. I felt like the times where he got himself in trouble was when there was just too much space out on the edge. And if you can kind of restrict that space, say like working on the interior of the offensive line, I think it could do wonders. Not that you don't have to move, and he does have the ability to move. So, his ability to get out in space and hurry and pull and lead block and all that, I think he can absolutely do that. It's just some of these edge rushers are pretty twitchy, and their ability to stretch up the field and then cut back around. Sometimes his feet kind of got caught up a little bit with the back and forth and all that kind of stuff. But if he's the one dictating, it's a run play, so you're going to push forward, or it's a pass play and you're going to hold your ground and not move, he can do that. Or if it's a run play and you have to pull, he's dictating that. He's not being dictated to, and that's a different thing than being off on the edge as a tackle. Just my 2 cents. All right, I think this is the last question here, something to do with the offensive line.
He said a couple times during the draft about guys you picked that they went through adversity and came out on the other side. There's football adversity, and then there's obviously real life adversity. And Golden was telling us a little bit about what he went through as a kid. You've coached a long time. Is there something to having that grit or whatever it is?
Yeah, I say it every time. Wildy cracks me up, man. He just absolutely cracks me up. His questions are way too long, and he loves saying things like, "You've been doing this a long time," or "I've been doing this a long time," or "We've been covering the team a long time." Just ask the question, dude. Everything's so deep. Even the way his tone is so, Matt, look, man, you've been doing this a long time. And, Ted Thompson used to say this phrase, as a head coach who's been doing this a long time, who's been a leader of men for the better part of a decade. It's like, bro, just, man.
Yeah, there's going to be football adversity, but I've also been through a lot more stuff.
Yeah, I think it gives you perspective, number one. But I think, resiliency is key, and I think you see it, especially in our league or any competitive league. There's going to be moments of adversity, and there's going to be some struggle. And if you're not tough-minded, it's hard to make it through the other side of that. And I think we've seen it with our team over the course of 2 years. And as painful as it is, like in the moment, I'm talking more from a team standpoint, sometimes you're better for going through it. And I think that was evident a couple years ago.
On the flip side, it was the first time we met Brinson and John Williams, and they seem to have some pretty good personalities on them.
You probably know them better than I do.
I'm curious, your locker room is a tapestry of different personalities, right? Do you want to have some guys that, there's some serious guys, as long as they're serious about football, do you want those guys that are a little more?
Yeah, I think we embrace everybody's personality. At the end of the day, I want these guys to be themselves. Obviously, you want guys that love the game of football, that love to compete. You want guys that are high character, that are team first kind of guys, and we're going to keep on, talking about that stuff all the time to these guys. But I don't want robots. I want guys to be true to themselves. I think that's how they're going to maximize their ability and their time here.
I just love this because it's like, every time it feels like, okay, the big event is over, it feels like, okay, the 2025 season is officially starting now. Like, we got the rookies in the building doing workouts. We got press conferences talking about all this stuff. We got, we're going to take a week off here, and then it's going to be phase 2. We got everybody in the building. We're doing on-field drills. I'm sitting here trying to think like, oh, man, we're going to get through this process. You never really know what's coming, and you just kind of take it, and somehow the content just finds its way on the podcast. But you start thinking ahead, and you start thinking, man, what am I going to do? And it's like, you might need to speed this up a little bit getting through these prospects because we got stuff coming up here, Even I forget that there really isn't a dead period in the NFL. But anyways, we got that. We're going to continue on with this. We've got some more draft prospects coming up. Really exciting. Really exciting. I mean, several of these guys I'm very excited to kind of learn about myself a little bit. I mean, again, we did the very bare minimum going through the Beast draft guide and whatnot, but especially these later round guys really kind of digging in because they're lesser talked about. I'm not going to do this, obviously, with each individual undrafted free agent, but it might be worthwhile to maybe dig into a couple of them because there's some that I'm chomping at the bit to kind of, obviously, that frickin' corner that's built like a linebacker, I can't help but want to dig into that. And Nazir Stackhouse, who is a draftable prospect and teammate of the other defensive tackle that we brought in here. So we brought in the defensive line for Georgia, who's going to come in with Wyatt. So real excited. And then again, we've got more interviews from these guys. They all, it's funny because I was like, oh man, they didn't do an interview with Oliver. I was hoping we did because it's Oliver Day. And then I hit refresh, and sure enough, there's the interview. So it looks like all the rookies, if I'm not mistaken, I'm guessing they all did it. We got Matthew Golden, we got Belton, we got Savion, we got Barron, we got Oliver. There's Warren Brinson. Warren Brinson's going to be fun, man. I think it's going to be a lot of interview, or a lot of Warren talking. He is a fun and funny dude. He also wants to be like a reporter / podcaster one day, so I'm probably not going to do it, but Clayton and the boys, you should try to get him on the show. You know, he wants to break into the industry. I'm sure he's more interested in ESPN, but he can get an early start on a podcast. Who else do we got here? There's Micah Robinson, John Williams right there. That should be all of them. So Micah Robinson, so again, Warren Brinson will be tomorrow. That's going to be fun. Micah Robinson is going to be a really interesting one. It's going to be very similar to Colin Oliver, where it's like you don't really fit the typical prototype, and I think the big takeaway is going to be, well, he gets a bunch of takeaways, and that's what we want, you know. And then John Williams is sort of the somebody that I'm really interested in because he very much fits the direction the Packers are going as far as, you know, bigger offensive linemen. I know it's probably a depth play, but it's also another swing, in my opinion, for that right guard slot. I mean, if we don't have a solid right guard, this is massively disappointing. Between Sean Ryan taking another step, between Jordan Morgan kind of looking at year 2, between Anthony Belton coming in and potentially being that guy, and now John Williams, I mean, we've got so many people that can play that right guard spot. Somebody should be very good at it. And hopefully it's the same with left tackle. I mean, the floor is Rasheed Walker. And then you got Morgan and Belton also hopefully able, you know, ideally able to raise that floor a little bit. Again, it's going to be tough to compete with him as a pass blocker, in my opinion, but upgrading the run block, even if you can be slightly worse as a pass blocker, which, you know, I hate to even dabble in that, but if you can do that and I think significantly upgrade the run blocking, I think that's a trade-off I'd be willing to do. But anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Doesn't look like, as of right now, there's a lot of calls, so we'll probably skip that. So get your calls in so we can do a Packernet After Dark, I guess tonight. Last night, for you, there wouldn't have been one. And I have to go off and do my video. You know what I need to do? For those of you who've been sitting around waiting for me to release YouTube videos, if you're not on Twitter, that's where I've been releasing them. I just put one video on Facebook. I need to get caught up on YouTube and Facebook. But I have been doing the highlight videos with the songs and the whole 9 yards. For every prospect that we've been doing, I've been doing it with the draft. So I'm going to go do my Colin Oliver, and I'm going to try to get caught up with YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, actually. Only because it's tied to Facebook and I can just push a button and make it go there. But make sure you're subscribed and whatnot, and you can check those out. Talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Oklahoma State to Titletown, pipeline flowing, Oliver on the hunt, and everybody knowing 5th round still, league about to feel what happens when a cowboy joins the Packers killing field. Colin coming through, disruption is his mission, split the O-line, quick, that surgical precision, Oklahoma bred with that Midwest toughness, Big Ten quarterbacks about to witness roughness, silent but deadly, moves with stealth, collecting QB souls, adding to his wealth. Underrated, overlooked, that's motivation. 5th round gift that's worth the 1st round valuation. Coming for your backfield. Leave your offense flatline. Green Bay got a problem. Silent assassin, 5th round diamond shining. OSU legend with a chip upon his shoulder. Every snap he takes, the temperature gets colder. Pass rush specialist with that relentless motor. Push you, pull you, throw you, human bulldozer. Oklahoma State prepared him for the league. Now the North Division about to feel the heat. Versatile weapon, line him up wherever. When Oliver attacks, your drive won't last forever. They slept on him at the combine. They slept on them on a draft day. Now quarterbacks having nightmares, 'cause Oliver don't play games, no way. Green and gold defender with the cowboy mentality, bringing Western justice with technical brutality. Lambeau Field is where legends come to thrive. When Oliver hits you, you won't feel alive. High motor, higher ceiling work, get the gun match. Gunslingers of the north about to get detached. From Oklahoma to Wisconsin, making his name known. The silent assassin about to make the frozen tundra